We need to see these things from the Texas Longhorns in spring football next week.
Yards shy of the record. Williams breaks a hole. Williams had a record book. Ricky Williams runs to the Hall of Fame. Touchback. Ricky Williams, touchdown.
Young from the shotgun. Back to throw. Vince looks. Under pressure. He'll tuck it in and run. Vince to the 5. Young. Touchdown, Texas. Touchdown, Vince Young. He's done it again.
Longhorn Nation, we're back.
Welcome into another edition of the Texas Longhorns on SI podcast. I am your host, Matt Galatson, joined as always by my co-host, Zach Dimmitt. Zach, spring football starts next week. Football is just about back, kind of. I mean, we get to see some practices. We get to see a spring game. It's better than nothing, in my opinion. But there are a few things that we need to see from Texas, I think, this spring on both sides of the ball that are really going to tell us a lot about what 2026 could look like. We're going to talk about offense today, and then on Monday, we'll get into what we want to see from the defensive side of the ball. But let's start off on that offense, Zach. The first thing that I want to see, and we can go through a few things here, but the first thing that I think that I want to see and then I need to see is that connection with Arch Manning and Cam Coleman. How quickly can they get that going? How quickly can they build that chemistry and that trust and that ability to read each other's eyes and minds when a play breaks down? Those kinds of things are going to be incredibly important for this offense in 2026.
Yeah, that's the understatement of the year right there. That their connection is going to be big for this offense. But you're absolutely right. I mean, it seems pretty obvious. But it's true. You're going to be watching that, really closely when spring ball begins, and even more so now because of Arch Manning's offseason surgery with his foot. Because when Sark gave the update a week or two ago, whenever that was, the update was kind of boring because it was a good update because there was not much to it. He was on track to return, and that was that, and that's what you want to hear. Any sort of major update would have been bad news. And so, but what Sark was saying is that Arch is going to get back when he gets back, and then he's going to be able to build some rapport with those receivers, and certainly Cam Coleman's at the top of that list because Ryan Wingo, Emmett Mosley, they've already had many, many months working with Arch, and so chemistry won't be as much of an issue with those guys. But I think, with Cam Coleman, he's going to be our number one guy, far and away. And so you'd want to get that, down during spring ball and not have to wait until the fall or anything like that. So fortunately, Arch Manning's going to be back in time and be ready for that. A lot of, the media is going to be able to see a few of these practices coming up here soon, and that's going to be really nice. Even something as simple as, passing drills without any defense can say a lot about what a connection is looking like between a quarterback and a receiver. But a lot of that will happen, behind the snenes whenever they're actually running the offense and things like that. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But these practices just show a little bit about, what those guys are, looking like. I am curious to see if Arch will, how active he'll be in some of these drills because with the foot, you don't want to be dropping back too much, even if you're just practicing. We'll have to wait and see. So that's kind of what one of my must-sees is Arch Manning, how he's looking, how is he recovering. We don't, obviously there hasn't been any sort of bad news from Sark about any sort of setbacks, which is great, but I'm interested to see how he looks in these opening practices. So that's one of my big things as well.
Yeah, and I also, what else I really want to see too? I want to see that first Cam Coleman one-handed catch that's cut by the Texas media team. I just need to see one, like in the corner of the end zone, getting a foot down, one-handed grab, just like try to build the hype train a little bit. I'd really like to see that. But another thing that I think is incredibly important for this team in next season, what does this offensive line look like? What is the combination that Kyle Flood and Steve Sarkisian choose to put out there? Do you go Trevor Goosby, Brandon Baker, Connor Robertson? Lawrence Seymour is not there yet because he still hasn't been approved. His eligibility still hasn't been approved. And then you have, Melvin Ciani at right tackle. Who slots in at right guard until Lawrence Seymour comes back? Is it Dylan Sikorsky? Is it, Jonte Newman? Is it Andre Kojo? Or do you have Brandon Baker on the right side and you fill one of those guys in on the left side? And how does the chemistry look? Because it's a lot of new faces. There's some returning faces. There's Goosby, there's Baker, there's Robertson, but the addition of Melvin Ciani, the other new transfers like Jonte Newman and Sikorsky, and eventually Lawrence Seymour. Hopefully, I don't know if he's going to. I doubt he's going to get in during spring ball. I feel like he's going to be a summer addition. So, how this offensive line kind of gels together, especially until Seymour enters the picture, is going to be extremely interesting to see.
Yeah, with the practice beginning in only a few days, even if Seymour were to be granted his eligibility in like 1 minute from now, he's not going to be up conditioning wise and all that kind of stuff. He hasn't been going through winter workouts, so we won't really see the full ideal Texas offensive line this spring, which is fine. It's one guy missing some of that chemistry isn't going to derail the whole line or anything like that. I think if he's granted that eligibility, he'll still have the summer and the fall, like you said. So yeah, I agree with you. That's certainly something to watch. It's not like we're watching any scrimmages as of now. I know that the spring game is still a little bit over a month away, so we'll see what happens there. But these practices, they're not really they're not tackling. It's not really full contact, so we don't really get to see the offensive line blocking and how they're physically performing, but just what the starting group will look like is going to be big. And if they even give that to us, we'll have to wait and see. And even if you're not going against Colin Simmons and Hero Canoe and all those guys, which will make them better, you're still going to see them hopefully building some chemistry when it comes to just getting to know each other and what that starting group is going to look like, because it's going to be big throughout this whole offseason. So, yeah, but once spring ball comes around and they're actually hitting each other, this new look offensive line, which you mentioned some of the returns as well, they're going to be better because of the elite talent that's going to be across from them. And Sark has said that many years past that, and it's kind of a cliche, but the iron sharpens iron sort of thing, where these guys, they're going to, even if the offensive line struggles, in some of these scrimmages or some of these practices, it's not saying that they're going to be bad. It just says a lot about how talented this Texas defense is and how aggressive Will Muschamp's going to be as a play caller. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that. The spring game's still a bit of ways away, so we got to be patient. We'll see some hitting and stuff like that then, but I really want to see what the starting lineup's going to look like. At least 4 out of 5 starters. Pending Lawrence Seymour's eligibility waiver. We'll have to wait and see what happens there, but really looking forward to that over these next couple of practices.
Yeah, 2 more things that I think we really need to see. Obviously there's the elephant in the room. Can Texas run the football? How do these running backs look behind this new look offensive line? How do they change the dynamic of the running game? Can they be efficient in that area? Can they get 3.5 to 4 yards on average when they need it? Can they run the ball at the goal line? How do these new running backs fit into this system, and how are they different from last year? What is going to change in the run game? I think that is critical, and they need to show. I mean, they don't need to show anything, by the way. They don't need to let the media into practice. They don't need to let anybody see what they're doing. But as a group of fans, I think one of the things that they would like to see, especially in the spring game when they get a chance to see it live and in person, is an effective running game. Even though you want your defense to be able to stop the run, can these guys pop off a few runs when it counts?
Yeah, if you're Sark, it's, man, I really want to pop out these runs, but man, our defense is really leaky. You gotta just take what you can during these spring practices. You won't really know for sure until that season opener against Texas State what both sides will look like. But I certainly am excited about this running back room. That's for sure. Who's the starter? Is it Relique Brown or Hollywood Smothers? I don't think you have a starter. I mean, someone's got to start, but I don't think you have a full-on starter. It's going to be 1A, 1B, in my opinion, until someone separates himself. And really excited to see what Derrick Cooper looks like. We know what Hollywood Smothers and Relique Brown are, before coming to Texas. Obviously, you can just watch highlights of them. But with Derrick Cooper, how is he going to look during his first couple of practices? I think that's going to be really intriguing. You're going to need to have 10,000 sets of eyes to really capture everything that's going to be going on in some of these upcoming practices, because there's so many things to look out for both sides of the ball. But we're talking about offense. Even on offense, there's so many things to look out for here. The true freshmen, the newcomers, and at running back, there's so many new faces that there's so much to talk about at that position. Even Michael Terry, how is he looking? Are they, I think it's pretty safe to say they're going to keep him at running back, but is he going to take some, pass catching reps at wide receiver? Who knows? And even James Simon, he showed a lot of promise last year during some of those non-conference games, and I think he'll be an important depth piece. But it all starts with Derrick Cooper and Relique Brown and Hollywood Smothers. How are those guys looking? That's going to be, outside of Cam Coleman, the running backs are the most exciting thing for sure when it comes to the offense this spring. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, and I actually do have two more. I thought I had only had two more a second ago. Now I do have two more. Briefly, the first one, though, can Texas find its next JT Sanders, Gunnar Helm, Jack Endries at the end of the season with Nick Townsend or Amari Winston or whoever it might be? Can they find that go-to tight end that can move the chains and work the middle of the field? I think that's really important. But the other one that I think is kind of underrated in terms of importance, because people just don't think about a game where Arch Manning won't play next year. First of all, because he's so tough, but it's critical to find out who is going to rise and win the backup quarterback job. Who does Steve Sarkisian trust to be the guy in case Arch gets a concussion in overtime against Mississippi State or Florida or whoever they end up, if they end up in an overtime game next year. They did it back-to-back weeks with Kentucky and Mississippi State this year. And Matthew Caldwell had to come in and make a play in the Mississippi State game and, kind of propel the Longhorns to a win there to really save their season. Do they have a guy on the roster that can do that? Do they believe it's KJ Lacey? Can he step up and take firm hold of the job? Is it, MJ Morris, the veteran clipboard holder? Does he just, kind of check all of the boxes and he's your safe bet to do it? Or does Diabell just blow everybody out of the water and be like, wow, like this guy is the future. We're going to get him as many reps as we possibly can. And, it's going to be him. So that's going to be really interesting for me to watch personally, because I'm a huge quarterback guy. That's not where all my knowledge lies, but that's where the vast majority of my knowledge lies. I study quarterbacks a ton. So, and let's be honest, every single year in the Steve Sarkisian era, there has been a quarterback who's gotten injured at a certain point in time and a backup that's had to come in and do something. It started in 2021 with Hudson Card and Casey Thompson. And then the next year, Quinn Ewers got hurt against Alabama and Hudson Card had to come in. And then, the same thing happened the year after with Quinn Ewers and Malik Murphy. And then it happened again with Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning. And, it happens. Even last year, it was just really a couple of plays, but they were really important plays.
Yeah.
And I just think that that's going to be incredibly important to figure out.
Yeah, I'll keep it quick, but going back to tight ends really quick, 3 straight seasons, if you're counting Jack Endries, that Texas has had a tight end drafted. That's pretty amazing. Will Michael Masunas break out and be one of those guys, or Nick Townsend? I'm gonna say that they're not gonna break out into potential NFL guys. Maybe. I think Jack Endries really came on strong. So maybe I'm wrong, though. We'll have to wait and see. I think it'll just be a different position group this year. But I'm, like I said, hopefully I'm wrong. And then with quarterbacks, it's pretty ideal if Diabell comes out of nowhere and just blows everyone away. Because I expect big things from KJ Lacey, and then MJ Morris is a veteran. I think that'll be that competition will be really, really heated if Diabell is able to get himself into that mix. The quarterback battle will be one of those things where you already know Steve Sarkisian is going to take this all the way into the fall, even right before a week or so before that season opener. We just really don't know, because it's going to take a lot of proving. Or a lot of time to show who's most deserving, and you're not going to find that out first week of March or second week of March, that's for sure. So I am interested to see whenever they're doing drop back drills. Okay, Arch Manning first, And then who's second? It doesn't mean that that person's going to be the backup, but typically starters throw with the starters, second string throws the second string, and so on. It's not like that every single time, but you can typically get some sort of grasp. And so is MJ Morris going to be thrown second? Is KJ Lacey going to be thrown second? We don't know. So that'll give us some hint of what the coaching staff envisions currently. But I think the spring game will definitely give us a good sense of what that looks like, because who's going to be the starting quarterback opposite of the team that Arch Manning isn't on. That'll be really interesting to see, and I think it'll say a lot about what the coaching staff, who the coaching staff prefers as the backup in April. But we'll have to wait and see what happens in the fall.
Yeah, and by the way, you want a reason to get excited about Diabell? Good buddy of mine named Brooks Austin. Everyone knows him as the film guy. He comps Diabell, at least he did at the time when I talked to him at the Elite 11 finals, to a guy named Joe Burrow, who had arguably the best season in the history of college football with 2019 LSU. He had over 6,000 yards of total offense, like 65 touchdowns or something like that. He's smooth. He scans the field really well. His ball placement and accuracy are unbelievable. He's athletic. His deep ball is unbelievable as well. And most importantly, I think my favorite thing about Diabell, he's cool. He's calm. He's collected. No matter the situation, he's always ready, and he's ready to take the reins and propel his team to a win. So that's why I'm not counting him out of this thing, because this dude, yeah. He's the son of NBA. I'm not going to say legend, but NBA, one of my favorite NBA players of all time, Raja Bell. It's very obvious that competitive fire rubbed off on Dia. So I can't wait to watch him. I think he's going to be so much fun. And that's why I'm not counting him out, because I think he can do pretty much anything you need him to do at any time. So let's take a quick break real quick, Zach. We've been going for a while on this first segment. When we come back, we'll talk about the 2027 Combine now that the 2026 Combine is in the books. And a little bit of Sean Miller, heated once again. So stick with us after this break, and we'll be right back.
This episode of the Texas Longhorns on SI podcast is brought to you by Custom Built Trailers of Mississippi. Custom Built Trailers is the largest in-stock trailer dealer in Mississippi, with a variety of options to choose from flatbed goosenecks to bumper pull equipment trailers and car haulers to enclosed trailers and basic utility trailers. We do a little bit of everything. And if we don't have exactly what you're looking for in stock, we can typically have your custom built trailer built in 7 to 10 working days. 0% financing options are available, and we also deliver out of state. So give Custom Built Trailers of Mississippi a call at 601-722-9581 today and let us take care of your hauling needs. Custom Built Trailers of Mississippi. If we don't have it, we'll be glad to build it.
Welcome back to the Texas Longhorns on SI podcast. I'm your host, Matt Galatson. I am joined by my co-host, Zach Dimmitt. Zach, 7 Longhorns invited to the 2026 NFL Combine. A couple of them really showed out. Anthony Hill and Malik Muhammad, I think, were the two that really kind of blew people away with their measurables and some of the things that they were able to do. And that was great to see. Year before that, they had 14 guys that were invited to the NFL Combine, a school record. And there's a chance, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but there's a chance, and credit to CJ Vogel, he pointed this out on Twitter a few days ago, and I went looking for it before the show because I thought it was a really interesting point. If you look back to 2024, and they had the 14 NFL, or the 25 Combine, they had 14 players that were invited. And it really feels like that record's going to be broken. And and CJ went through this whole list, and credit to him for doing this. The list of guys who will need to make a decision about the NFL, who could potentially be, Combine invites currently on the Texas roster, and I'm not going to go through them all, but 23. I don't think that there's any way that 23 Longhorns get invited, and I don't think that all 23 of these guys are going to go to the NFL in the first place. But it's certainly setting up to be a year in which Texas could conceivably break the record that the school record for players being invited. Just a few of the names to keep an eye on: Arch Manning, Relique Brown, Hollywood Smothers, Cam Coleman, Ryan Wingo. Obviously, you can go to the offensive line as well: Trevor Goosby, Melvin Ciani, And then defensively, Hero Canoe, Colin Simmons, Ian Gaffard, Alex January, and linebackers, Rasheem Biles, Anthony Smith, and Jelani McDonald in the secondary, Bo Masco in the secondary. I mean, the list is very long, and I left off a few of the names, but there's a really good opportunity for a few of these guys, especially, I think, to really blow scouts away with their measurables. And we're going to go through like kind of our top contenders to do that real quick. And for me, and I think for you too, the really easy answer here that everybody is, certain is going to freak people out at the combine is Colin Simmons. He's an absolute athletic marvel. 6'3", 240 pounds, blazing speed, insane toughness and strength. The best edge rusher in college football, according to pretty much everybody. He's going to have an opportunity to show the scouts why. There's no way he comes back for a senior season, barring an injury or something like that. But I guarantee you he is going to freak people out at the combine.
Yeah, I'm really excited for next season's combine. That's, a little under a year from now. But you talk about how much talent there's going to be. Only so many Texas Longhorns can be first-round picks, but the amount of players next season from Texas that will have first-round grades is going to be pretty astounding, I feel like. And so, the combine is going to say a lot about how some of these, players are viewed by these teams. I mean, Cam Coleman, Arch Manning, Colin Simmons, Trevor Goosby. That's potentially 4 first-round picks right there. You may only have 3 of those guys be first-round picks. You can pencil in Arch, Cam Coleman, and Colin Simmons as first-round picks. Trevor Goosby certainly as well. I mean, imagine that. We'll have to wait and see those a long time from now. But
really hard to believe he won't be. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you have 4 first-round picks, that's pretty amazing. And I think we'll have to wait and see, what does Arch Manning do at the combine. What kind of drills does he partake in? I can see him kind of not doing too much. Cam Coleman may be similar, but Colin Simmons, man, that vertical jump, that 40 time, I can't wait to see that. We don't want to get too ahead of ourselves because we have a whole season ahead, but the combine is always exciting because these guys really get to show out in front of these scouts, and we already know what Colin Simmons can do. We've seen it for multiple years now, but when he has a chance to boost his draft stock even further, it's going to be a really exciting sight to see. So, it won't be too much of a surprise if Texas is able to break that combine invite record. I know A&M was at like 13 invites, led all teams this past season, and good for the Aggies. But wouldn't it be pretty fitting if Texas comes along and the very next year has more invites than A&M did? It would be pretty like the Longhorns to do that. So, like I said, long time from now, but there are some really intriguing names for next season's combine, and so I can't wait.
Yeah, and just a couple more real quick that that'll be worth mentioning in terms of athletic traits that'll really impress people. How about Jelani McDonald?
Yep.
Like, that guy is big, fast, strong, really smart. Like, you saw some of the things that he was able to do in the secondary, covering so much ground. He's going to be a guy to watch as well. And then Ryan Wingo. Like, I feel like Ryan Wingo is made for the combine. Like, when he runs that 40-yard dash, people are going to be like, oh, shit. Like, that guy is fast.
Yep.
And, that's really going to help his draft stock. Does he need to work on a few things this year and kind of prove himself a little bit? Yeah, sure. But having Cam Coleman there is going to make all the difference in the world. So I'm really excited about both of those guys as well. I mean, if I'm sitting here putting a projection on it, like, I legitimately think there could be 15 or 16 guys invited to the combine that, setting a new school record. I'm not sure. I can look it up real quick, but I think that the record for combine invites is, I believe Texas was like tied for first or second all time. Let me see real quick. Well, I
Like
can't
Ohio
find it,
State
but
or something.
yeah, Ohio State and Georgia are up there. I can find that again here in a minute when I have a little bit more time. But like this could be one of the best classes that we have ever seen out of Texas. There's a chance that there could very well be 5 first-round picks, maybe even 6. Like that's the kind of stuff that people were talking about with Clemson last year. It didn't really work out for him. I don't think that's going to end up happening. Like there's going to be a couple guys there in the first round still probably, but it's not going to be 6. Can Texas actually like follow through and make that happen? That'll be really interesting to watch. So I can't wait to see it. In other news, Texas basketball got absolutely smoked by the Arkansas Razorbacks. Jordan Pope obviously was the center of attention when it comes to, the heat for that game from Sean Miller. He absolutely lit into Jordan Pope for, claiming he didn't really want to play. He didn't want to be out there, all this stuff. And maybe it was that way. I mean, he had 4 fouls in the first few minutes of the game or something like that. Like he got in foul trouble real early and then never really was able to get going. And it ultimately results in Texas dropping in the game 105-85. Arkansas outscored them by 22 in the first half. Texas actually, tried to battle back in the second half. It was a lot more even in the second half. They outscored Arkansas, but they still ended up losing the game by 20. Dalen Swain only had 9 points. Dalen Swain had 16. He had 9 rebounds. Tremont Mark had 18. Modest Vokatitis had 21. And he also had 2. Nick Cody and Kendall Weaver both had double figures off the bench. But what was the problem, Zach? It was defense.
Yep.
And Jordan Pope just, I guess, decided, I don't want to play today. And even if he had played well, the defense was still so bad that I don't think it would have made a difference anyway.
Definitely not. Jordan Pope, four fouls and 4 total minutes played. He had 3 fouls early, sat the rest of the first half, and then he picked up his 4th foul the opening minute of the second half, and then didn't play the rest of the game. Would he have been able to make the score look a little bit better? Sure. It still would have been a double-digit loss on the road. It really would not have mattered. I was really impressed with Arkansas, and I thought Texas had a chance to potentially make this a close game, when tip-off happened. But as soon as Arkansas scored a few of these early buckets, it was pretty clear who the better team was. But yeah, going into the game, I thought Texas had a fighting chance. Didn't mean they were going to win, but Arkansas, it was a dunk contest. It was a few turnovers leading to dunks. It was poster dunks, alley-oops off the glass. My goodness, it was just absurd. And the final score is not indicative of how dominant Arkansas was. So a 20-point win, and it still wasn't, indicative of how big of a blowout this was. Texas scored a lot of garbage time points. I watched that whole game start to finish. So trust me, it was not a 20-point loss. It was more like a 30-point loss for Texas. But it actually might be a blessing in disguise a little bit. If they would have won this game, it probably would have been arguably Texas's best win of the season, and they would have moved up probably a seed line to maybe a 9 seed, which you want to avoid. But now they're still comfortably outside of the bubble, on the good side of the bubble. You don't want to lose to Oklahoma, which we'll talk about in a second. But people are joking on Twitter that great chess move by Sean Miller to intentionally lose this game and avoid that 8-9 seed. He's got the big brain plans, but of course, obviously that wasn't the goal. You want to win a big road game, but it actually, in my opinion, could work out better for Texas when it comes to their seeding. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But when Arkansas scores 38 fast break points, when any team scores 38 fast break points, you're not going to win any games. And it's pretty crazy that they had that many points, and Texas actually, won the turnover battle. That just shows how fast Arkansas is, how poor Texas's defense was. You're not going to win any games in the NCAA tournament allowing 38 fast break points. That is absurd. That is an incredible number. It says a lot about how talented Arkansas is. But yeah, now if you're Texas, it was a road loss against an elite team. It is what it is. But now you got to take care of business against Oklahoma tomorrow. It's senior day. Last home game of the season. And if you win, you're in the NCAA tournament. It is what it is. I don't see how it's any other way. Even if Texas loses the first game of the SEC tournament, they don't put too much. The committee doesn't put too much stock into the NCAA or the SEC tournament. So even if you lose, unless you just get blown out by 50 or something, you're still going to be comfortably in my opinion. And I think Texas will be able to avoid Dayton because of some of the bubble teams that are beneath them just aren't as strong, in my opinion. So if you win, you're in. If you lose, Texas will be sweating on Selection Sunday. They probably would be heading to Dayton, in my opinion. If you lose a home game to Oklahoma, that is not ideal at all. Got to take care of business. Texas would be 18-13 heading into the SEC tournament. So you got to take care of business tomorrow against the Oklahoma team that led Texas by 14 in Norman a few weeks back. And Texas ended up coming back and winning that game. So they're certainly not any slouch. But Sean Miller is probably telling his guys, if we win, we're in this thing, and you should use that as motivation because then we'll feel pretty safe on Selection Sunday. So one more game until the SEC tournament, and then Selection Sunday is going to be 9 days from now or something. So we'll wait and see what happens.
You want to hear something crazy? Darius Acuff isn't playing in Arkansas's next game because he has a nagging ankle injury.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
He had 28 against Texas.
Yeah.
Back in the middle of February, he had 49 against Alabama. The game before that, 31 against Auburn. The game before that, 28 against LSU. He also had, he scored in at least, if I'm looking at this correctly, he scored at least 17 points in every single game this year. I don't know when this guy got injured.
Yeah, he's been in a walking boot for a week or two, a few weeks, if I'm not mistaken. And he's been telling the coaching staff at Arkansas, I'm not missing any time. I'm playing for my guys. The more I hear about this guy and the more I watch him, I just like him more and more because he's a tough son of a gun. And man, dropping 28 and 13 assists on a bad ankle. Sean Miller was pretty much onto something when he was saying that Darius Acuff has a chance to be the number 1 overall pick. I don't think that it will end up happening, but he certainly has the talent to be in that conversation. But yeah, very, very impressive.
Yeah, he'll be a lottery pick for sure.
Oh,
by the way, just before we close this thing out real quick, well, first of all, on the basketball front, I really hope Jordan Pope shows up against Oklahoma and wants to play because that's the biggest game of the season for Texas by far at this point. Every other game, there were important games and all this stuff, but this one is where your season completely hinges. So if Jordan Pope doesn't show up in this game, I don't even want him to play in the NCAA tournament if they make it. This is the game you have to show up for. So let's hope that he does. But I found this while you were talking about basketball. The record for NFL Combine invites is Michigan in 2024. They had 18 players that were invited to the Combine.
Won the title.
2020, the Combine with the 2019 LSU Tigers, they had 14. Ohio State had 14 in 2024. Georgia had 15 in 2022. They also had 14 along with Texas in 2025, and Ohio State had 15 in 2025. So those are your record holders right now in terms of who's had the most. Texas, I'm not sure if 18 is going to be the number, but they could get to 16 or 17. So we'll have to see how that what happens there. But that's going to do it for this episode of the Texas Longhorns on SI podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please make sure to like and subscribe and rate our podcast and comment down below on YouTube to let us know your thoughts. It really helps us out in the YouTube algorithm. Most importantly, be sure to tell somebody you love them, and we'll catch you in the next one.